Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eli, and I have a question for you. What do you think is the biggest determining factor in our futures? Maybe it's our upbringing or our past accomplishments, such as sports achievements or artistic achievements. Maybe it's our personalities or grades. But while all these things are important, I believe that the biggest determining factor in our futures is who we choose to spend our time with. I've had friends who I've known since the 3rd grade who were good students and on track for a promising future. They were focused on their academics, they excelled in extracurricular activities, but then after knowing them for years, they started hanging out with the wrong crowd and their lives fell to pieces. They themselves weren't bad people, it was just the initial decision to start hanging out with the wrong crowd that prompted them for their lives to take a turn for the worse. These people influenced them to do bad things such as drugs and sex. And the initial decision to start hanging out with these people was the first decision of many decisions that eventually led to their downfall. This all could have been prevented had they just been a little wiser with who they chose to hang out with. A man named Donald Miller, who is a business owner and public speaker, noticed this correlation of how our friends influence our futures through the studying of inmates. He got the chance to guest teach a rehabilitation class at a jail in Texas, and while he was there, he noticed a common link between many of the inmates in this program. He found that they had developed damaging relationships early on in life, and this greatly contributed to them becoming criminals. They were friends with gang members or drug addicts or women who led them down the wrong path, and this was just the beginning of a long string of poor decisions that eventually led to them becoming criminals. Donald Miller learned through this experience that one should surround themselves with people who they want to be like in the future. So he decided to take what he had learned and apply it to his own life. He found 4 other guys in his life who he wanted to be like, and he decided to bring them all together in hopes of learning from them. They were all business owners and they all were intelligent, and when he told them what he was trying to do, they also agreed that it would be beneficial to each of their lives as well. So for the next few months, they met at a cafe every morning on Tuesdays, and eventually they created lasting, wholesome relationships that uplifted their individual lives and endeavors. Their marriages became stronger, their businesses became more well-run, and they became more confident individuals. Donald Miller noticed that he had a solid foundational friend group who he could turn to for wisdom and accountability. This was a very essential part of his life in developing his business and living a more wholesome life. So, because of all these examples we can see how important it is to have a solid foundational friend group with people who we want to be like in the future. Joel Osteen, a pastor in the Houston area, sums it all up by saying, "You cannot hang out with negative people and expect to live a positive life." So, in order to become the best version of yourself, start by hanging out with people who you want to be like in the future. So you may find yourself a more driven and effective person. Thank you for listening.